Hello good people, how are you? My good name is Christabel. Welcome again to another episode of Doing Life with Chris. Here we learn, we experience and we grow together. If you're new here, karibu nyumbani. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for joining. Guilt-free cake recipe that you can have for breakfast. Most of the time zile keki mingi tunakulanga zinakuanga very unhealthy, but this recipe will have you having cake for breakfast with zero guilt. So the cake is almond cake, and what we will need, I have 2 eggs here which I am going to beat. I have 1 cup of buttermilk. Now if you do not have buttermilk in lugha ya mtaa ni maziwa mala. If you do not have mala, what you can do is you take your whole milk and have 1 tablespoon of either white vinegar or apple cider vinegar or juice of 1 lemon, which is usually equivalent to 1 tablespoon, and you add that to your milk, you'll have buttermilk. I have 2 teaspoons of baking powder. I have sea salt, which I'm going to use a 1/4 teaspoon of. I have 1 cup of all-purpose flour, which I am going to sift. I have the zest of 1 lemon. I have vegetable oil here. I have my measuring cup, my measuring spoon, and because the cake is almond cake, I have about 1/2 cup of slivered almonds. They don't have to be roasted because they are going to the oven anyway. Here I have sugar and I have my oat flour. Now if you do not have oat flour, don't worry. If you have oats and you have a blender, you can make your own flour. So I am going, because it is an almond cake, ideally I should use all-purpose flour and almond flour, but because, well, I live in Embu and Embu is unique in its own way, I don't have almond flour. So I am going to substitute that with oat flour. And because oat flour is a bit lighter than the other flours, I am going to use 1 1/4 cups of oat flour. Now if you do not have oat flour, you can use all-purpose flour, but use 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Okay? Okay dogs. I'm just going to put my wet ingredients together. So I have my 2 eggs there. I need to measure a 1/3 cup of oil. And because this recipe is so quick to make, I am going to pause there and then I am going to turn on my oven so that I can preheat my oven at 180 degrees. Yes, so my oven is preheating. In about 5 minutes I will be done with mixing, so that is why I have done that. So we are going to mix this first. So here I have my buttermilk, I have my 2 eggs, and then I have oil. So once this is all mixed up like so, and you are not seeing any lumps from the eggs, I am going to add my zest of 1 lemon. And then I do not like too much sugar in my cakes, so I am just going to use about 1/2 cup. So I am just going to mix this up so that all my sugar dissolves. That should be okay. I am going to take my strainer and sift my flour. This is my all-purpose flour, 1 cup. And to that I am going to add the 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And then I'm just going to sift my flour on top or over the wet ingredients. And why we sift flour is so that we can get rid of impurities and also to incorporate air in our flour so that it can rise properly. Then I am going to add 1 1/4 cups of my oat flour. Because sift. This recipe will have you eating cake for breakfast every single day, and it is so healthy. Oat flour does not have gluten. So to this I am going to add a 1/4 cup, like so. Then I'm going to add about a quarter teaspoon of salt, and this is sea salt, so it is very, very fine. And we are done. Once we're just going to fold in the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients, and this is the best strainer to use, the metal one. The plastic one doesn't do the job very well. I'm just going to fold this in. So our butter is ready. So here I have my bread pan. This bread pan, if you have parchment paper, you can line it with it. If you do not have, just sprinkle a little oil in it, brush it so that it goes to all the corners, and then dust it with a bit flour. So the only thing left for me to do is to pour my butter in this bread pan and shove it in the oven for 50 to 55 minutes or until it's golden brown. Perfection. And now, because it is almond cake, we have our slivered almonds here, so we sprinkle on top as much or as little as your heart desires. I have about half a cup. I have some to spare. So this goes to the oven for about 50-55 minutes, and that is the end of this preparation. I will show you once it's out of the oven. Guys, you can have this recipe. You can literally wake up, come to the kitchen, mix up your ingredients, shove in the oven, get into the shower, and by the time you come out, your breakfast is ready. So I'll see you when my cake is out of the oven.
Much later.
We have taken our cake out of the oven, and as you can see, it is perfectly golden brown. The sides are golden brown, the top, our almonds are perfectly roasted. But go ahead and try it and tell me how it comes out in the comment section. See you in the next one. Bye.